Hello, I'm Dr. Ellen Driojas Clark, and I am District 7 representative to the Commission on Arts and Culture. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Clark, for welcoming us to this virtual meeting. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Mireles, and I am a Public Art Project Manager for the City's Department of Arts and Culture and the Project Manager for the Seeling Channel Public Art Project. I'm here tonight in the lovely galleries of our partner, Centro Cultural Aztlan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we get started, we do have a Spanish translator on standby should someone need this presentation translated into Spanish. If you do, please use the chat icon at the bottom of your screen. It looks like a thought bubble to let us know that you need a Spanish translation. Tonight, we're joined by District 7 City Councilwoman Ana Sandoval, who would like to say a few words. Councilwoman Sandoval, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. Buenas noches a todos. And thank you, Dr. Clark, for joining us and giving the welcome and for your service on our Arts Commission. I'm Ana Sandoval. I'm your City Council person for this area. And I'm here to welcome you to our meeting about the Seeling Channel Public Art Project, which will be creating a new landmark in our community. You may be familiar with the Seeling Channel. In fact, I had a meeting about it earlier today, about the next phase of it. We're talking about $60 million and lots of time. I'll get that for a second. So it looks like somebody does need a Spanish translation. You got it? Okay, cool. The other thing I want to mention is that COVID has affected how we can host meetings. So we're doing this today virtually. Thank you for joining us virtually. And I want to thank Centro Cultural Aztlan for hosting the event as well. The other thing I want to say about COVID is that it's had some tremendous economic consequences, and that has had a tremendous fallout for our arts organizations and work here in San Antonio. We hope that next year we will be back on track in terms of our budget. I don't know that we can ever make up for the time that we lost, but we will try. One thing that COVID didn't do is affect what we can do with our bond money. So we will still be able to do this art project. But unlike some of the arts projects you'll see in galleries or at events, this one is different because it will be seen, used, and shared by the public. And after today, it will also be shaped by the public. So now is your chance to participate in helping to shape this program and to create a new environment out in the community near the Seeling Channel. So thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to hearing your input.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Sandoval, for joining us tonight and for being such a strong supporter of this project. Now we can start with the presentation. Once again, my name is Kimberly Mireles, and I'm the Public Art Project Manager for this project. I don't see that anyone has requested a Spanish translation, just our question in Spanish. So I will continue this presentation in English. The presentation will be made available on our website following the event. So if you want to watch it again, or if you want to share it with your neighbors or friends who were unable to make it tonight, it will be on our website in a couple of days. Next slide. Oh, sorry, stay on this slide. Throughout tonight's presentation, you can send questions directly to the Department of Arts and Culture by clicking on the chat icon at the bottom of your screen. We will do our best to respond to your questions before the end of this meeting. If we do not address your questions during this time, we can follow up with you afterwards. Also, please remember to be kind and respectful in the comments as they will be visible to all who are attending this meeting. Next slide. During this presentation, we will look at the public art process, have a project overview, talk about the proposed location, the concept of this artwork, a timeline, and next steps, and finally, we'll end with a discussion on the concept that we are presenting here tonight. Next slide. For those of you who are not familiar with public art Public art is art in a public place that has been through a public engagement process to determine a few things. Where will the art be placed? Who will be the artist? And what will be the inspiration and themes for the art? This artwork and the artists are approved by our San Antonio Arts Commission. They are managed by a public art project manager, and they're usually paid for with public funds. Next slide. Every public art project our department manages goes through an extensive process where we check in with the community and different stakeholders, as well as our San Antonio Arts Commission and Public Art Committee. Here you can see we are about halfway through this process for the Seeling Channel project. We've done some initial community engagement. The artists have been selected, and they have now developed a concept. Before we continue, we want to get your input on this concept, which is why we're so happy you've joined us here tonight. Next slide. I imagine all of you are familiar with the Seeling Channel Improvement Plan as you've been living through it and living directly by it. But if not, this multi-phase plan is a response to catastrophic flooding in the area, and when complete, removes over 100 homes from the 100-year floodplain. Next slide. Following the 2017 bond, our department conducted a citywide community engagement through our KPASA program, which showed a high interest in including public art in the Woodlawn Park area and in Seeling Channel specifically. The 2017 bond, Phase 3 of the Seeling Channel project, which expands the channel from Morning Glory through St. Cloud and includes curbs, sidewalks, and driveway approaches as needed. A new program that the Department of Arts and Culture is piloting is a design enhancement program, where we partner with our public works colleagues and work with local artists to try to incorporate some kind of creative design enhancement into more bond projects. And so we will be including design enhancement into the public works aspect of this project, and that design enhancement will tie into the concept you'll see in a few minutes. Next slide. Some of you may have some questions about the public works portion of the channel project, which includes that channel expansion and some street and sidewalk work. Tonight, I'd like to concentrate on the public art project. So if you do have any questions, here is the contact info for Sean Beauvais. He is the Capital Projects Officer with the Public Works Department, who is overseeing the Public Works section of Seeling Channel. Feel free to contact him, and his contact information is also in the chat. You can also visit the Public Works website to view updates on this project. Next slide. Some of you may have attended our community engagement completed last year. We held an in-person meeting at Jefferson High School where we presented details about the project and discussed the values and characteristics you'd like to see in this new artwork. We also conducted an SA Speak Up online survey, which was open for 2 weeks. And in total, we had 72 total participants in the survey, and we got a good idea of what the community wanted to see in this artwork. Next slide. The community engagement told us that the artwork should include references to Seeling Channel and nature, as well as the history and culture of the neighborhood. This project should employ some of the many artists who live and work in District 7. The project should incorporate poetry to help tell the story of the area and be located in one of the neighborhood green spaces. Next slide. We had an artist selection panel made up of representatives from the Arts Commission as well as community representatives, and that panel selected Kim Bishop and Luis Valdez to be lead artists for this project. And because poetry was included as part of the project scope, we've partnered with 2018-2020 Poet Laureate Octavio Quintanilla to make this project part of his Poet Laureate initiative. Kim and Luis are longtime residents of District 7 and have a long history as working artists as well as working on community art projects. We'll have a video message from them in a few moments, so you get to hear directly from them so that they can introduce themselves to you and introduce the concept they've created. Next slide. Now we're ready to share with you the new details about the project. Before we get started, I did want to plant these questions in your mind as things to think about as I go through the location and the concept. At the end of this presentation, we will have a discussion portion where we really want to hear your input and your comments using that chat button at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to comment anytime. You don't have to wait until the end, though we will wait to address any questions or comments until the end. The chat is open and visible to the public, so everyone attending this meeting, we ask that you be respectful and be kind in your comments. The questions that we'd like you to consider are, what parts of this concept stood out most to you? What excites you about the project? How do you see yourself interacting with this artwork once it's built? And are there any changes that you would make to this concept? We'll show these questions at the end, so just bear with us. Next slide. When it came to choosing where this artwork would be located, the community engagement we did last year directed us to look at some of the green spaces along the channel. And so, working with the artists and with our colleagues at the Parks and Recreation Department, we narrowed to a location in a small green pocket park at Magnolia, Mistletoe, and Emery, which is on the north side of the channel and just east of the Phase 3 construction zone. This space is about 16,000 square feet and is not currently utilized. The other great thing about this location is that our schedule would be independent from the Public Works schedule. Next slide. Now we have a message from the artists Kim Bishop and Luis Valderas, who I'm so happy are the lead artists on this project. Please remember, if you're calling in tonight, you will not be able to hear this video. The video will last about 4 minutes.
Hi everybody, I'm Luis Valderas.
And I'm Kim Bishop, and we are so happy to meet you all. We've been in District 7 for 20 years.
I'm originally from South Texas, McAllen, right along the border, and I moved here 20 years ago. And one of the most beautiful things I discovered about this neighborhood was its lush tree growth and its wonderful park areas like Woodlawn Lake. Then after discovering that every summer there's a big 4th of July fireworks setup, that just made me fall in love with this neighborhood. How about you, Kim?
Oh yeah, I fell in love with this neighborhood right away. What's great is that I didn't even realize when I moved here that my grandmother grew up here and she graduated from Jefferson High School. And then my son got to graduate from Jefferson High School, and I even got to teach art at Jefferson High School. So I'm really happy to be in this neighborhood. Another thing that I really love about this neighborhood, Luis, is that it was designed by the 3 daughters of a real estate developer, Mr. Seeling.
That's Clara, Paula, and Ella, right?
Right. And one of the things they were really concerned about was having spaces for community.
So Seeling Park was one of the first parks that was developed, and that is at the top of Seeling Channel.
That's right. And there's another little section along Seeling Channel right at the corner of Mistletoe and Magnolia that is still a blank canvas. In the last meeting of the community, one of the things that the community said they really wanted to see was a place to meet.
And also some sort of educational basis for the design, as well as lighting and color and a connection to collaboration.
Right. So we are just so happy to have been chosen to be the team that will be designing this park for the community.
So, in the spirit of Jean-Claude and Christo, a husband and wife artist collaboration team that created large-scale public art,
and Robert Smithson, who created large land art like the spiral jetty,
we've come up with Poets
Plaza. Now, Poets Plaza is going to have the themes of the neighborhood, the themes of the streets in the neighborhood. Mistletoe, Morning Glory, Magnolia, Weesatch, Mulberry, and Water and Sun.
Interestingly enough, after surveying the area, we discovered that the shape of the park is actually a right triangle, and its longest side faces
South.
south.
Faces south. And when the sun goes over, it creates an arc over the park.
A gentle curve that we are using to create the outline for a small covered walkway, as well as reflecting the curve on the opposite side to create a layered
Seating area with poets. So we are going to be teaming up artwork with poetry from the neighborhood that are reflecting the themes of the neighborhood and creating a plaza-like atmosphere. And seriously, our goal is that we are going to create a place that is beautiful and cool and educational, and a place that the neighborhood can be proud of and will come and enjoy for generations. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim and Louise, for introducing us to your concept. Here we can see a visual of the concept that they were speaking on. Please keep in mind this is not a final concept and is only meant to give you an introductory general idea. Kim and Louise, as they mentioned, were inspired by the natural world. You can see a major component of this artwork is a metal trellis which matches the sun's path at this latitude. On top of the trellis are yellow metal pieces which form poems and artworks. Those poems and artworks cast shadows on the ground below, and the sidewalk acts as a canvas for those shadows. Also featured is a large blue colored concrete area with the design of a magnolia. On the other side of the open concrete area is a ledge where people who walk the neighborhood can rest, or where people can meet up and enjoy each other's company. There are several entry and exit points, and there will be some small amount of landscaping in the area. Next slide. As I mentioned, the major component of this concept is the poetry and art trellis. As part of this project, we will have 7 poets create poems based on different subjects to do with the natural world. These subjects are inspired by the Seeling Channel neighborhood, including 5 streets in the neighborhood. The 7 subjects are mulberry, morning glory, huizache, mistletoe, magnolia, the sun, and finally water. Our 2018-2020 Poet Laureate, Octavio Quintanilla, is curating a list of poets which include 4 of the 5 San Antonio Poets Laureate, plus 3 poets who live or grew up in District 7. Each of the 7 poets will write a poem based on one of those subjects. Once they are complete, Octavio will choose a line from each of the poems to create a collaborative 8th poem. It's that 8th poem that will appear on the trellis. The poems in full, though, will be available in signage on the site. In addition to poetry, our lead artist, Kim and Louise, will select 5 artists from District 7 who will create artwork in collaboration with the poets. These artists will be selected by Kim and Louise based on their availability and their artistic merit. Together, these poems and artwork will tell a story of the neighborhood and the natural elements found at Seeling Channel. Next slide. Should we get your approval tonight to move forward with this concept, I will present this concept to our Public Art Committee of the San Antonio Arts Commission in October. The artists will then more thoroughly flesh out this design to include incorporating any feedback we receive tonight and to include engineering and landscape drawings, as well as getting the final poetry and artworks for the site. We will present a final design to the Public Art Committee and Arts Commission in February of 2021. Once that final design is approved, we will begin fabrication and installation, and finally have a dedication for what is going to be a beautiful landmark in the winter of 2021. Next slide. So that's the concept for the public artwork at Seeling Channel. I showed you these questions previously, and now I'd love to hear your answers to these questions or any thoughts you may have on the concept. And I will try to answer them as best I can. The questions are, 1, what parts of the concept stood out most to you? 2, what excites you about the project? 3, how do you see yourself interacting with the artwork once it is built? 4, are there any changes you would like to make to this concept? Please reference which question you're answering in your chat function. Right now, we're going to take a 2-minute pause to allow for everybody to write their responses in that chat function. We'll be back in 2 minutes. So I don't want anybody to be shy here tonight. We want your opinion. Even if you don't want to answer these questions, you can please let us know if you're in love with it and we can move forward. Today, this moment is the time to give your input. And we really want to have a discussion with everybody here on this call to let us know what you think of this concept. So we're going to give about another minute for you guys to ask a question. So I'm not getting any questions, and I hope that's because you guys all love it. We're going to go on that assumption. This is the final opportunity to give us your input. What we're going to do is post this recording on our website. So if you want to go back and look at it again, if you want to share it with your family and friends, we really encourage you to do so and give us any input that you have. Otherwise, we're going to say everybody's on board and continue on with this concept. My contact address is, my email address is kimberly.meadellis@sanantonio.gov, and my phone number is 210-207-5951. Please send me any comments or questions or concerns by September 29th. At that point, we'll take that feedback and present it to the artists. Next slide. The last thing I want to do before we end is to say thank you to Centro Cultural Aztlan, who has been our gracious host this evening and even distributed the flyers many of you have received. If anyone wants to know more about Centro Cultural Aztlan, they're located at 1800 Fredericksburg Road in the city's gorgeous Deco District. Their phone number is 210-431-1896, and their website is centroaztlan.org. Please do visit them, and we thank them for being our virtual co-host this evening and for all they do for San Antonio. We also want to thank Councilwoman Sandoval for attending tonight and to Dr. Clark for her welcome. And I am actually getting word that we have a question, so thank you. So hang in with me for just one moment here. So our question that came in is asking about, in the concept, if that area in blue that has that magnolia on it is a water feature. It is not. What you're seeing there is a blue dyed concrete. So it will be a hardscape area that will be sandblasted or etched with the design of a magnolia, which of course comes from the street name right near this artwork. So we have another question that asked about the timeline for execution and completion. So we are going to present and hopefully have a final design approved by the San Antonio Arts Commission in February of 2021. At that point, we'll start into fabrication, which we're thinking is going to be about 9 or 10 months, maybe sooner, we'll have to see. And we'll install. And again, we'll have to have more developed drawings to think about a real timeline. But we're thinking this is going to be done and finished and ready to be enjoyed in the winter of 2021. And another question that we got is, are artists going to be compensated for their participation in this? And the answer to that is yes. All of the artists and poets involved will be paid for their work and will be credited appropriately. We love having all the great artists and poets that live in District 7, and this is a really unique opportunity to include lots of creative minds into something that is going to be part of the neighborhood. So those are our questions tonight. Again, please feel free to reach out to me if you have other thoughts or other questions. I'm happy to answer them. Just do that by September 29th. Next slide, please. At this point, I want to thank everybody for attending and for asking questions and trusting us with your feedback. We really do appreciate it, and we count on you guys to give us that feedback. So